Hi there, this is Georgina Villasenor-Lee. Welcome to my Week 4 presentation, Ethical Dilemma in Public Administration. So the facts of the situation begin like this. I am the Human Resources Director for a city, and I've been asked by a very new city manager to create a position for a city council member's nephew who just graduated from a local university in human resources. Now, one of the city's priorities has been to keep graduates in the city uh, and try to get them to stay in the city after they graduate as part of the city's economic development plan. And so, as you see here, the Human Resources Director um, or myself, the city council member and the city council member's nephew is also a stakeholder, as well as the city manager. Some additional stakeholders I was able to think of was the HR department or the HR staff itself, who would be impacted in some way by the decision. Interestingly enough, I've actually gone through this early on in my career. And the reason why I included the HR staff is because if a decision is made to hire the nephew, there may be some morale implications, or nonetheless, they would be joining the staff miraculously. And then I also involved the community or the public because there would be an unintended consequence there where these individuals in the community would not be afforded the same opportunity to apply for this new position. So as a Chief Human Resources Officer in my position, I am obviously high level and therefore held to a very high standard of trust, integrity in the profession of human resources, and also responsible for being fair and just and equitable in the hiring processes in the organization. So as we look at these theories and see how they apply, the virtue-based theory I could see it going both ways, but one can argue that you would want to just go ahead and help the situation, help this person, the nephew, in getting a job, and help the city at the same time achieve its goal and its mission. But also a virtuous person would also understand that there are processes in our profession of human resources. Many of them are dictated by law. So it then goes to the utilitarian approach too, or utilitarianism, where we should consider acting in a way that produces the greatest good for the greatest number, this whole principle of utility. So in this case, I take into account the public. I take into account the department staff, how they would be impacted. And I would really take into consideration that it would have a huge impact to these groups of people in a negative way. So as a public administrator, we are tasked with really making sure we have the public's trust. And so when we look at these two theories, you could either hire the nephew to please the boss and the elected officials, or you can also tell the city manager that we cannot create a position just for the nephew. So my decision would be based more so on the utilitarianism theory, and that I would really take into consideration the overall happiness of the public and the public's interest, as well as the HR department. Taking into consideration that there are probably staff members in the department who have been trying to develop themselves and looking for that next promotional opportunity, as well as taking into consideration that the public also needs to be given the same opportunity to apply for positions as well. So I would tell the city manager that we cannot create a position just for the nephew. Um, in terms of how we communicate that, I would try to come to some sort of compromise in a way, um, letting him know that although we cannot create the position because of X, Y, and Z, certain laws, our goals and missions in terms of how we facilitate processes, hiring processes to be fair. I would include the nephew in interested job notifications that open up in human resources, afford him the same opportunity to apply with the public as well if and when a position opens up. Or perhaps this may be the opportunity to conduct a needs analysis for a position, and if there is in fact a need for a position, then we fly the position and again reach out to the nephew and see if he's interested in applying and have him compete with everyone else. This may not be a response that the city manager wants to hear, let alone the city council member, but I think it would really prevent any sort of precedence being set, and that then we create this flawed system where other council members or elected officials feel that they could just bring their own family members in through the back door.